If you're tuning in, I hope you're doing well. Hope you've been having a good day. I want to talk about self-sabotage and how it shows up and why it shows up and kind of how that stuff works on a subconscious level. So there are a couple reasons and a couple ways that it shows up. And one of the reasons it shows up is because there's some sort of underlying fear involved. And so this can show up around the fear of success. When we conceptualize success, when we get to that first level of success, naturally we're going to want to progress to the next level of success. Makes sense, right? But as we're all taught, the reward for hard work is more hard work. And so in our subconscious mind, the thought process goes, well, if I achieve this first level of success, then I have to maintain that, and that's going to take work. And then if I want to achieve the next level of success, I have to put in even more hard work to make that happen. And the subconscious mind, it doesn't like changing things. Like, we are not programmed to embrace change. We are programmed to embrace security and certainty. And so anything that guides you out of a place of security and out of the place of comfort and all of that stuff, it then becomes a threat. That progression, that pathway becomes a threat to your security because it is going to lead you away from what you're programmed to want, which is security and certainty. And so the subconscious mind makes these efforts to hold you back from achieving that because it is going to introduce change and uncertainty and insecurity. And so there's all of these little subconscious things that are at play that put us in a position where we're making all sorts of irrational decisions or choices or doing things that are not in alignment with what it is that we actually want out of life, because there's a part deep in the corner of our brain that knows that if we do XYZ, that is going to take us to our goal that lands outside of our comfort zone, outside of our land of security, that it just doesn't want to go there. That's where self-sabotage comes from. Ultimately wanting to stay in the comfort zone, in the land of certainty and security. But as we all know, outside the comfort zone is where all the awesome stuff exists. There's another reason why this shows up and how this shows up. And this is especially for high performers and high achievers, okay? High performers and high achievers love solving problems. We like being, engaged. We like being activated. We like, high states of arousal and being involved and just like doing stuff. That's how we are as high achievers and high performers. And so naturally, with wanting to solve problems, that means that problems must exist, right? We can't solve problems if they're not there. And also, if we don't have things to actively engage with, then we get bored. We get bored. There's not enough stuff to stimulate us, to keep us active. And so then what do? We create problems for us to solve because we don't want to get bored. We want to stay engaged. We want to stay active. And so again, going back to this place of we create problems so that we don't get bored. And then we also don't want to go, our subconscious mind doesn't want us to go outside of the comfort zone and leave the land of security and certainty. It's going to create problems for us to solve that will keep us busy, that don't actually guide us out of the comfort zone and into the land of, amazing, awesome success. Because that's not what our subconscious mind wants for us. It wants to stay in the land of security and certainty. That's two main ways that it happens, is avoiding discomfort and uncertainty, and also creating problems so that we don't get bored. And that manifests in all sorts of different ways. And so I want to break down an example of how this can kind of come across. When it comes to weight loss, there's a lot of work on the front end and in the process to lose the weight and all of that. But then on the back end of that, there's still a lot of work and effort that goes into maintaining, keeping the weight off, right? After you do the work and you lose the weight, you still have to implement healthy practices to keep the extra weight off. And so what will happen, there's this subconscious knowledge that your brain knows, your mind knows, okay, well, I put in all this work to lose weight, and then I lose weight, and then once I've lost weight, I'm still gonna have to keep doing all of the stuff that I didn't enjoy in the process of losing weight, which sounds super uncomfortable. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to put off losing weight for as long as possible, sometimes forever, because it doesn't want to deal with that discomfort of having to change lifestyle to something that it perceives as not good. And this is kind of where paradigm, lots of fitness trainers and nutritionists talk about this stuff with people that they help all the time, is that it's not about changing your diet and your, exercise and all of that stuff. It's about changing your lifestyle. It's a paradigm shift in how you view your relationship with diet and exercise, right? That's what they talk about. And so one of the ways that self-sabotage can manifest is let's say, someone decides, yes, okay, right now I am going to lose weight. They make that decision. I'm going to go on a weight loss journey. And they're all about it for the first week, maybe the first week and a half or something. And then they think, you know what, I'm just going to go eat a sleeve of Oreos. And then they go eat a sleeve of Oreos, right? Because what that does is it sets them back on their weight loss journey. Okay, I'll make up for it next time. And it sets them back and it sets them back and it sets them back, because they know that once they stop eating those sleeves of Oreos, and they start losing all of that weight, in order to keep that off, they're gonna have to keep doing work on the back end, which is not comfortable for a lot of people, that have been in that place of not eating healthy for most of their life or not exercising for most of their life. It's a big shift to have to make. But, when they make that lifestyle paradigm shift around health and nutrition and food as fuel, not food as comfort, then that kind of removes that aspect from the equation. But again, going back to the subconscious mind, ultimately what it's doing is it's sabotaging that growth because it wants to avoid that point in the future where it has to continue doing that thing that brings discomfort, which is avoiding certain foods that you enjoy or engaging in exercise that you may not want to do for whatever reason. But again, coming back to the paradigm shifts, when someone shifts the paradigm of, I'm not losing weight because I feel XYZ, I feel like I don't look good in the mirror or whatever. I'm losing weight because I don't want this or I don't want that. But it's I'm not losing weight. I'm starting a healthy, diet and exercise regimen so that I can have more energy as I go throughout the day, so that I have, more vitality as I raise my kids, so that I'm able to be more active and engaged when I go out and do things with people. And you don't approach it from a place of, aesthetic, and it comes from a place of functionality and just embracing good health. You're embracing a positive thing instead of that fear of missing out of something that's really not benefiting or helping you. That's how you start to resolve those self-sabotaging processes and those things that show up. You find out where the self-sabotage is coming from. What is the fear? What are you trying to avoid? You identify it. And then you say, how is this manifesting in my life? This is how it shows up. Because when you identify how it manifests and how it shows up in your life, and you identify why it's happening, then you can actually start to get to the root cause of why that is happening and start to shift your paradigm of how you are viewing that fear. And then when you shift the paradigm around that fear, then you shift your paradigm around the self-sabotage. And when you shift the paradigm around the self-sabotage, then it stops. Because you realize that, whatever that fear or belief or whatever it was that was holding you back from growing, when you are able to identify that and put it into a frame where it is just completely irrational, or you reframe it in a way that's more empowering, then that self-sabotage cycle stops, or at least in that specific area. Ultimately, that's how you resolve the self-sabotage. You find the source of the fear of what it is that's going to bring discomfort in the future that you want to avoid subconsciously. Your subconscious mind is like a mind of its own. It really is. It's like the shadow part of you, right? When you're able to identify those things and you get to the very source of it and you reframe it and you shift it into something that's more empowering, then the rest of it kind of just falls away and you're able to continue to grow and move forward without tripping over yourself every 5 or 10 steps. As far as how self-sabotage shows up for you in your life, if it does, there's a couple different ways that you can identify that. If you feel overwhelmed then there's probably some amount of self-sabotage in there, right? You feel like you feel this overwhelm because you know what to do, you know how to do, but for some reason you're just like not doing it. There's a reason for that. If you know what to do and you know how to do it, but you're still not doing it, there's some sort of self-sabotaging mechanism that exists within you that once you address it and you release it, then you'll be able to implement the what and the how with ease. You know, it's really that simple. That's how it works. So anyway, I hope you got some value from this, and I hope you learned something new. If you've got any questions for me about this, feel free to reach out, drop something in the comments. I can talk about this stuff all day. So anyway, have a good rest of the day, weekend, and I'll catch you later.